All right. Yeah, let's get started, guys. Woo! No, just kidding. So here we have what we did last week, right? So what we're going to need to do really quick is right here on this unordered list, we're going to add a class of PCView because we're going to style it. Okay, keep everything the same. Come down here and I'm going to create a div. Right, create this div that says ID my side nav. Check the capitalization here. Give it a class of side nav. We're going to do that in the CSS later. Okay, and I got the closing div down there. And I'm going to take this whole navigation bar, copy it, and paste it inside the div. Once that's done, get rid of the PC right here, this class PCView, get rid of it, and then get rid of all the classes in the LI tags. So class equals drop down, get rid of that in the LI tags. Keep everything else the same. Probably going to need to pause this video, and that's fine. Next thing, put this close button in here, right underneath the first LI tag. Give it a class of close button. We're going to use that to style it. On click, close nav. That means we're going to run a JavaScript function when we click on this. Okay, then we have the times. That just puts a little X in there. That looks like that. Okay, once you've done that, come outside this div that we just created, the my side nav, and then we're going to put in the hamburger menu. Okay, we gave it a font size of 30, made it so when you mouse over, it does a little hand icon, gave it a class of open, and then when you click on it, it runs a JavaScript function called openNav. And then this is the code for the hamburger menu. It will look kind of like this. Okay, then we create this JavaScript function here. So when we click on the hamburger menu, it runs openNav, which will go to the document, the whole page. It'll search the page for an element with the ID of my side nav, which is right up here, this div that we created, ID of my side nav. Okay, and it will set the width to 250. That'll make it so it's viewable. Okay, then when you click on the X, right up here, it says when you click on it, run close nav. Okay, this function down here, which is right here, function close nav. Okay, document dot get element by ID, that div again that holds the mobile navigation, and it's going to set the width to 0, which will make it invisible. So you probably will need to pause this video to get all that down. That's fine, but that's all you got to do on the HTML side. Okay, on the CSS, we're going to do some queries. Okay, media queries, it controls what you do in certain widths with the browser. So at media, the minimum width 650. What this means is if the minimum width of the browser is at least 650, it will apply all the styles inside of this curly bracket. So this curly bracket here, here's all the styles we did last week. Okay, and then this is the closing bracket for that media query. So on the PC view, it will do everything we did last week. Okay, and then for the mobile view, we set up another media query where basically it says the maximum width that it can be is 649, so one below the 650. Okay, and that's inside of curly brackets as well. Okay, the body background color blue. And we can test that by going back and forth here. When we hit that 650, it does the background of blue. Okay, and we can go into the inspector here, inspect, and this will tell us right in here what width the browser is currently at. So we can see when it gets below 650, it applies those. When it gets higher, it applies the normal styles. All right, you guys can wake up now. Here we go. All right, so again, we need to think what needs to happen here. So when it's the normal PC view, I want to see this, but I don't want to see all this mobile stuff. So we go to the PC view here, the PC styles. And I'm going to just start throwing some stuff in here. So side nav, that's going to get annoying. So we got to remember, okay, what the heck is side nav? Right here, this div that holds the PC, or that holds the mobile navigation. Okay, class equals side nav, class side nav. All we need to say here is display none. Okay, now it's gone. Simple enough. We still got our divs here that we're going to play with. We also still have the hamburger menu. So we got to play with those as well. So class open, which is the hamburger menu, same thing. Display none. And brackets is going to keep tabbing over because it recognizes that all of these styles are inside of something, so it's trying to do the right thing and tab over. But I don't want to have all my styles tabbed over just because they're in a media query. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, hamburger menu's gone now. Perfect. Now, really, the only thing left we need to do is style these divs here, our content divs. So I'll come down here to the bottom, right before the closing media query bracket here. I'm going to style content 1, content 2, content 3. I'll just style them all the same way. I'm not spending a lot of time on this part. This is mainly just, hey, if you had content in here, this is one of the ways you could get them to display. Also, we want to get them to stack as well when we go into the mobile view. So I'm going to say border solid, just so I can see them. I'm going to give it a percentage width, so it will shrink and grow with the width. Height 200. And I'm going to give it a margin all around, top right, bottom left of 2%. I'm going to change the color too, just so I can see the text. It's actually kind of weird. I'm not really sure why that one's over to the right.
Yeah, mine's in the center.
The heck? Well, we can say text align left. that should make it behave. No. Color me confused. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. If this happens to you personally, we'll figure it out. But this is weird. I'm very confused right now. Not B. Does this happen to anybody else?
Yeah, me.
Okay, well, cool thing is this isn't, I don't really care about this part. We'll figure it out later if we need to, but anyways, width of 28. So you can see how it's squishing. It's getting smaller as I resize. So the 28% is always there, and then all around it, it has a 2% margin. Okay, but right now they're stacking. We don't want that. If this was the mobile view, that would be fine, but it's not. PC view, we want them to go across. So the way you can do that is just float. Because by default divs stack, they're block level elements. We're gonna have to mess with this, okay? They're block level elements, which means they don't like things next to them. They take up their own space. They like back off, okay? Anyways, so when we tell them to float, we kind of take away that block level functionality. We say, hey, let things be next to you. But yet, let's lower this. I'm wondering if these are kind of in its way. What if we do... I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But the problem is this isn't part of the assignment. Don't really care, so we're going to move on. And I hate that because this is actually really bugging me why it's doing this. It looks to be something about like these might be taking up space and it doesn't like that, and so it's kind of pushing it. So yeah, that is totally what it is. Okay, well, like I said, I need to, but right now I don't care. We got to move on. Okay, so we have that. And we will play around with these later. But the way I would look into fixing this is because these are taking up space. It's because when you say visibility hidden or opacity 0, they're still on the page. They're still taking up space. So you have to do display none. Display none actually removes them from the page. And so when I did display none for these drop downs, it then moved it over. But then I had to look at getting the hover to get them to come back. So, but anyways, we'll play around with that probably later. I want to focus on the actual mobile menu here.
You gonna post this video later today?
Yep. Okay. So
I'm gonna do it later.
yeah, I did, because that was just to see if it would work. So now I've basically styled everything how I want it to be in the normal view. Okay, so now I need to start focusing on this view, right, where everything kind of explodes. So the way I do this, I don't know if it's the best, but it works for me, is I'm basically going to take everything inside the PC view and copy and paste it inside of here. And then I'm just going to kind of go block by block and go, okay, what do I need? What don't I need? Because a lot of the things that I'm doing in this view, I need in the mobile view, like the background image. I'm going to need that in the mobile view as well. But right now, it just kind of blows it up. So I'm just going to come up here, grab everything I have inside of here, and copy and paste. Be careful, don't grab the extra closing bracket. You don't want to grab the media query and its opening bracket. We just need everything else inside. So now when I get bigger and smaller here, everything just kind of stays the same.
Can you place that under PC view? Yeah, what?
I got rid of it, but we're about to do it here. Nope, I just put it inside the media query here.
Okay.
So the curly bracket that opens the media query, it's just right underneath there. So I took all the styles and just put them in there, so I still have that closing media query bracket. So now I just got to start thinking, okay, what do I want to have happen in this media, in the mobile view? Well, do I want open to be display none? Definitely not. So get rid of that. Do I want the side navigation bar to be display none? No, because that's the mobile navigation bar. So I get rid of that. I do want PC view to be hidden though. Okay, so now it is going away. You can't really tell because the mobile view looks a lot like it. But it is going away, and I can tell because I'm now getting the hamburger menu in the close And it's up here now instead of down there. Yeah. Yep. Yep, I took all the styles from the PC view here and just put them inside the mobile. What? Nope. Heck no. That's what we're doing now. We're just kind of going through line by line and figuring out, okay, what do we need to change? What don't we need to change? So in the mobile view, do I need the custom cursor? Isn't going to hurt anything, but really on a mobile device, cursors don't really do anything. But if someone's on the mobile view on like a PC, yeah, I'm okay with the custom cursor still being there. So I'm not going to really change that or mess with anything. Okay, background, position fixed, all of that. Yeah, I still want to keep the same background. I have it basically full screen. So yeah, I'm not going to mess with that. So I'm good there. Title. Okay, Space Place 2000. Well, I probably want that to be a little bit smaller when I get to the mobile view. So that's pretty simple. Just come over here and say, all right, font size is going to be 30 instead of 40. There we go. Now it's a little bit smaller. So on the normal view, it's 40. When I get to the mobile view, it just shrinks down a little bit. Okay, now this on our list is all the styles for the PC view. So I don't really want any of those. I'll kind of rewrite those later. Same thing here. I'm going to rewrite that later. Same thing here. Get rid of that. Same thing there. Transitions and stuff. I don't really need to mess with that. I'll keep the drop A because I'm going to be playing with that later. Okay, hovers we don't really care about because we can't really hover on a mobile device. And same with that one. So really we just kept the HTML, the background, and the title, and the drop A, and then the content. Now it's starting to look a little crazier. So kind of like normal. Where is it?
Yeah.
Let's try here. clean this up a little bit. All right, so we're going to start right underneath title here. So it's all kind of hanging out in here. Not a fan of that. So the first thing we're going to start styling is side nav. Okay, which is the div that controls and holds the whole navigation bar. All right, so I want the height to be 100%. Height 100% almost never works unless you position fix. I found that position fix, it will work because it knows, okay, I'm not going anywhere, so I'll just be 100% tall on the browser. But if you position it absolute, or if you position it relative or other ways, it still doesn't really know what the full height of the browser is, so it can't work. But if height 100% does work with position fixed though. Okay, so the width I'm going to set as 0. That'll be changed with the JavaScript later. Position fixed. And that makes it so it doesn't move when you scroll. Make the z-index really big so it gets in front of everything. Put in the upper left-hand corner. Okay, so now it's all squished up because I have a width of 0. But it's still kind of messed up because I can see things. That's not good. So even though this div, like if I click on the X, the div is 0 pixels wide, but I can still see everything. So what I have to do is say overflow hidden. What that does is it hides everything that's outside the div. So when the div is 0 pixels wide, in other words, there's no width at all, it's going to hide everything that's outside of it. Okay, so now when I click on the hamburger menu, it comes out. Why is the X not working? There we go. Now when I click on the X, it goes away. And to get the animation, pretty dang simple. Transition 0.5 seconds. That just says if any of these properties get changed, animate the change. And then there we go. I'm getting the animated rollout slide thing. You can see the home and about are kind of getting smacked around a little bit when it's getting bigger. You can see that it kind of shifts into place, doesn't look very good. We can fix that later. It's right now because we haven't given this a width, so it doesn't really know exactly where to be. So when it runs out of space, it just kind of shifts and looks a little weird. Okay, and because I'm going to have the X up here, I need home and about to kind of be shifted down, so I'm going to add some padding in there. Okay, so I just shifted home and about down 50 pixels. And I'm going to position the X in the hamburger menu a little later.
So mine now, the hamburger menu is still floating on the right. It's not going to the left side of the content.
What, yours is over here or something?
Yeah, and it's like in line with content.
Wouldn't worry about it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, because we're going to position it, and once you position it, it really shouldn't matter where it's at right now.
Okay.
Because we're going to tell it, you know, stick yourself in the upper left-hand corner or wherever you want it, and then it should be fine.
How can you change its color?
We'll get there. Because we gave it a class of open. So when we get to styling open, we'll change the color and the size and all that. Okay, next thing, side nav, unordered list. So we're styling that unordered list inside of side nav. Should be kind of obvious. A couple of the things we need to do. Got to get rid of those bullets. You can't really see them because they're dark, but I need to get rid of those. List style type. None. Okay, and remember we have, right now, when we open it up, you can see that these kind of shift into place. You may not be able to see it on the broadcast, but on the projector you can see it. They kind of jump into place because there's no defined area. So to fix that, that's where we put it in. We actually define the width here. So I'm going to say width 200 pixels. Now that gives it a defined area of where these things can exist. And so now when this closes, they don't shift. They know where they're supposed to be and they stay there. And there's no weird shifting. That's all we got to do with the unordered list. Okay, now I'm messing with the list items. Say margin bottom 40. Just giving them a little bit more space. And I'm doing that because we are going to be displaying, you know, all this that you probably didn't even know was there, right? All of the sub stuff. We got to have some room in here and so forth. A lot of this stuff is just look stuff. It's not functionality. It's just how I chose to make mine look. You can decide, you know, later on if you want to change stuff up or whatever. Okay, now I'm going to mess with the A tags inside of side nav. Jeez. So these, about, and home. And all these two I think it'll do. We'll see in a minute. So I want to get rid of the underline. Color. Okay, now we we can actually start to see stuff. Made it kind of this darker gray. So right now they're just kind of, they don't really know where to be, what space to have. They're just kind of all squished up in the space that they have. So if I say display block, that makes them a block level element basically. So now they're like, okay, I got my own space, move over. And now they're all kind of on their own lines now. So now it's finally starting to kind of look like a menu, a navigation menu. Okay, I'll finish this up and then we'll take a look at what we're doing. All right, I want some padding. So top, 8 pixels, right, 8 pixels, bottom, 8 pixels, left, 32. I did a large one on the left because I want some space over here. Okay, and I'm going to want some rollover effects. So when I roll over, I want these to kind of change, and I'm going to animate those changes. Same thing, transition, 0.3 seconds. So if the color, the padding, any of this stuff changes, it'll animate that change. Okay, and I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger. Now, right now we don't have any visual hierarchy, right? We can't really tell which one are the sub menus, which one is the main menu. We'll change all that later. But for now, I'm just kind of defining what I want the main links to look like. That font size is pretty big. Maybe shrink it down here. I don't know. Maybe it was okay. I'll stick with 20. Okay, then I want that hover. So side nav, a hover. Okay, and it animates. Now I'm going to come up here and grab that font family, Kavanaugh, because I do want it to stick with that theme. Okay, this drop A, actually I wanted it to be down a little bit, so I'm going to grab that. It doesn't matter what order it's in, it's just the next thing we're going to mess with, so that's why I'm moving it down. Right, Savannah, how you doing?
So like when I first tried it, when we just changed the background color of words, but now like none of my mobile view will show up. I have it on display 9 or PC view on 9. It's defined over here.
What about when you shake it down? That's like the normal view, right? Okay. Keep going. That's what it looks like right now in the normal view. So that's showing me that like basically no CSS is being applied right now. So we gotta take a look at your multiple or your media queries. Where are they? Show me the first one. Media stuff.
Oh, okay.
Click on the first bracket there, the curly bracket, and then show me where the closing one is.
Can you take it?
Yes.
Right down.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Hey, how are you doing?
We're gonna take a break.